Dares to Dream, I like to inspire and motivate adults to dream again. Because as we go through life and take on our different roles and responsibilities, we tend to put our dreams on the back burner. And my goal here at Dawn Dares to Dream is to help you pick those dreams back up and to pursue them again. Now, I want you to understand, I started Dawn Dares to Dream because I wanted to relay my message and my heart and my feelings across to whomever would listen. It can be difficult getting your closest family and friends to understand the way that you believe and when you try to express it and share it. So this was like my backdoor way into letting everybody know. Now, I may have lost some viewers as a result of that because they don't agree, and that's fine. I am definitely a proponent of everyone having their own thoughts, their own process, their own mindset that works for them. Your religion works for you, you keep that. No one's telling you to get rid of that. Whatever it is that works for you, continue to use it. I'm just saying that sprinkle some of this other information on it, this personal development information that I'm providing you, and see where your life takes you and how you take off personally. Always remember, we are in control of how we see our environment. I don't care what everyone says it looks like or everyone says it is. We are in control of how we choose to perceive the environment. Hey dreamers, welcome back. And welcome to all the new dreamers who stopped by Dawn Dares to Dream today to see what we're all about. Well, today what I want to do is do like a 3-part series, literally 1 video, 2 videos, 3 videos, and I want to tell you my story. What I've been doing throughout all of the video series that I have done, I've shared bits and pieces of my story. But today, I want to share from a different point of view. So I'm going to talk about 3 points or phases of my life: surviving, living, and thriving. Those are the 3 phases. And today we're going to talk about surviving, because when we're in survival mode is when we learn all of who we are. We learn how to maneuver in this world, because whether things good or bad, however we choose to look at them, have happened to us, we learn how to react. But from that reaction, when you get into the living and the thriving phase, you learn how to be proactive and not reactive. But in the survival space, we are reactive. So I'll give you a little bit of history about what I call my survival mode, right? You know, like I'm a survivor or something, but I swear to you, that's what it felt like. So let's go ahead and get started. So when I was about 2, 3, 4, something like that, my parents picked up and left Baltimore and they moved to Houston, Texas. My father thought that this was a good place to start over and where he could find enough work to support his family. So he wanted to come on out here and start his new life. So when they were out here, you know, it kind of didn't work out. My mother wasn't that comfortable with living in Houston, Texas. And you got to remember, when my parents were together, I was living the high life, okay? My mother used to braid my hair all the time. She used to order me these wonderful, beautiful clothes from the catalog. We never really went shopping in stores, but she was a catalog shopper back then. I guess this is in the 80s. I was born in 75, so this is late 70s, early 80s. She would shop in the catalogs and do my hair, and I felt so pretty. And that's the role my mother played. She prepared meals, that kind of thing. And my dad, on the other hand, he was like the fun parent. He would roll around on the floor and play with me. He also had me prepping to learn school type lessons prior to going to school. He was the one who helped me with my homework. You know, he was that kind of interactive dad, for me at least. Now, during this time, everything is great, everything is fine. I remember one particular Christmas where the whole living room was decked out with presents. Like, you couldn't even see the living room furniture for how many presents me and my brother had received that Christmas. So I guess my dad may have been right. Houston was pretty good to his pockets, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so after, I guess a few years, my mother got tired of being here. She didn't feel comfortable without having her family around her. And we have a pretty large family. So I get it, and a close-knit family. So she was like, I need to go back to my roots. I'm not feeling good here with James, and this isn't working out for me. So my mother decided that she wanted to go back to Baltimore. And, as mothers do, she took me and my brother with her. This is where things take a turn for the worst.
My dad says it all the time, and I believe him, that my mother should have left me and my brother in Texas. And I can't speak for my brother. Let me take that back. I'll speak for me and my experiences with my dad. I wish I had been left here. But when you think about it, had I been left here, the person that you see today who's giving back and sharing her life story, my life story would be different. It would be a lot easier. It would have been a lot more comfortable. The survival mode that I transitioned to when I was about 5 years old is what helped to create Dawn Dares to Dream. You understand? So it's not so bad that I had to go through all these things, but whatever. So we get back and we're in Baltimore, and at first everything is good. Then things kind of took a turn for the worse. We didn't have food. You know, my mother wasn't home a lot. It was just me and my brother. My brother was basically raising me. He's 5 years older than me. It's not his responsibility to parent his little sister. So my brother wasn't as nice to me as I would have liked him to been. I'm going to say through, my elementary school to middle school time frame, he wasn't the best brother to me. I mean, he was angry, and I get it. I would be angry too if I had to take care of a sister who didn't appear to be grateful. Because remember, I'm in survival mode, and by this time I have had it. I am upset. I am pissed off. I don't know why my life is like this. I wish my life was like my other family members. It was like, woe is me. Why is my life this way? So I wasn't feeling too good either, and I did not take well to someone trying to discipline me that was not my parent. But you got to remember, in his mind, he is like my parent because he's serving in the parent role. My mother, at this point, is working a lot, and when she isn't working, she has friends, she's going out, having a good time, enjoying her life. I can't fault her for that. But was I hurt, and did I feel neglected as a child as a result? Of course I did. Of course I did. But she had her needs, and her children had theirs. And I've had plenty of conversations about my mother and having children because I would get angry. Remember, I'm in survival mode. I'm going to say around middle school age, I started asking questions. So I would ask my mother, why did you have me? I'm like, I don't understand. I'm confused. I don't get it. Why am I here? Nonetheless, I'm here, and my mother chose to have me. And at that time in my life, like I said, I think about middle school, about to hit high school. I don't understand. More turmoil has gone on. There's more lack in my life. We're getting evicted. We are, she would go grocery shopping and we would eat the food up, and then there was no refill on it, so we're figuring out how to scrounge around and make meals for ourselves. One year, my dad, I don't think not my dad, but my brother, see that pun, right? My brother wasn't living with me. And I never forget, it was this one summer, and I hated when the summers came, people, because when the summers came, I didn't get breakfast and lunch at school. So I had to worry about all 3 meals. When school was in session, I got breakfast and I got lunch because we got the free lunch, right? So in the summertime, I had to figure out what in the world was I going to do. Now, granted, I don't know what my mother's doing. I don't know what my mother's thinking. And I don't know from her perspective how much she did fill that refrigerator. But from my perspective of what I feel, that I can recall, it was empty a lot. So this one particular summer, I went and helped my Aunt Theodore, but we called her Aunt Coochie. That was her nickname. Don't make fun. That was her nickname. I loved Aunt Coochie. So she was married to my Uncle Raymond, who was my grandmother's younger brother. Okay. So they are around my mother's age, a little bit older than her. So they, kicked it when they were young. And so they had a great relationship with my mom. We lived not too far from them. We lived in an apartment complex, not too far, maybe 5 to 10 minutes away from their home. So one particular summer, because I'm in survival mode, I'm thinking like, how can I feed myself? Because again, I don't work. I'm not old enough yet. So I go to Aunt Coochie's house, and I help her with her kids. She had an in-home daycare back then. So I used to go to her home and sit in there and really just do whatever she told me. And I really was doing it so that I could eat. I don't recall telling her this. I don't know if she knew this, but I know that I would come. And then I would try to linger around after the last child was leaving because they were going to have dinner. And if I went home, I wasn't going to have dinner. So I'm trying to have dinner with my Aunt Coochie and Uncle Raymond. I think it kind of worked out for the most part where I did, stay and I did get the dinner because I wasn't big on sharing my problems with anyone. I'm still that type of person today. I learned that in survival mode because I did once upon a time share a few times what was going on at home, but no one really helped me. And these are my family members. And I'm like, well, why do you want to know what's happening if you can't help me or you won't help me? But what I realized, again, as an adult from this mindset, people have their own lives. They have their children. They have limited income. So they are managing with what they have to provide for their household. They may not have had enough to stretch it to me, you know? So anyway, that being said, I did this for one whole summer and it was great. And while I'm in survival mode, I asked my aunt one day, I said, how much do you charge per child? And when she told me, I counted the heads in there and I said, this is a good business. So at that moment, I wanted to own a chain of daycare centers. I didn't want to be the person who took the kids and watched the kids in her house, but I wanted to take it a level up. I said, you know what? I want to own a chain of daycare centers. Now that never happened, but that is how my mind works. When I meet someone who is successful at what they're doing, I want to know, okay, well, what are you doing and how are you doing this? Because I need to see if this is something that can work for me. Is this something where I can live my abundant life, you know? And I didn't call it an abundant life back then. I was just trying to survive. So still, while in survival mode, I want to highlight another individual. This is Bonnie and Daryl. They went to the church, the childhood church that I always talk about that I grew up at. They went there. They started going there, I think, sometime like maybe my late elementary years or early middle school years. So when I met them, they just took to me and I took to them. And I didn't even have a clue that my brother had actually knew them and they loved my brother, because what had happened, I had came to Texas to stay with my dad with one of his wives. Yes, I said one of his wives. He's been married many times. So I stayed with them for a while. I was supposed to come here to live, but as always, something would happen where I was going to be either I wanted to go home or I was going to be sent home, or I was going to do something to be sent home because I didn't like living with the wife. I always loved my dad. My dad was always good. He was always good to me, but the wives always were a little funny style, you know, with me, because me and my dad had a very close relationship. That being said, I'm back in Baltimore. So Bonnie and Daryl is new at the church at this time, but they had been there, I guess, for a little while. And my brother was actually close to them. And then I became close to them, and they were one of my angels. And there was one night in particular, you know, I have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but back then I didn't know. I have a whole bipolar series. If you want to know how I got diagnosed, my manic episode and all that, I detail all of that in my my bipolar journey series. So you can go check that out. But back to the story. So one night I was home, and I kid you not, I felt like I was losing all of my mind. I was, like I said, somewhere between 11 and 13 years old. And I literally felt like if I didn't get out of that house, I wasn't going to be right. I just felt like there was so much stress and so much pressure and so much fear. And a lot of it had to do with fear. And people, don't play with fear. You know, don't nurse it. Don't play with it. Because fear can have you going to places that you never would think you would go to because you're so afraid. And that night, I just was like, I got to get out of this house. I can't be in this house. I got to get out of this house or apartment. So I called Bonnie and Daryl because they were my angels at the time. And I called Bonnie and I said, can you come and get me? And my only reasoning was I told her, I said, I just don't feel good in this house today. I feel like, I don't know if I told her I felt like I was going to go crazy. I don't know what my words were. I don't know what I articulated to her. But she came and got me, which was such a wonderful thing. And I, thinking now as an adult, after a whole work day, you're home, you don't feel like going to leave your house to pick up another person's child that now has to come to your home. You don't know what state of mind they're in. You were trying to relax, you and your husband, but this little girl has called you. And then she came to my rescue. And I spent the night at her house. And then I think I went home the next day. I don't know how many nights I was there. A lot of my memory, guys, I don't have. They are like sparse. You know, I remember some things and I don't remember others, like there's holes. But I think that had a lot to do with me being bipolar and maybe having manic and depressive episodes throughout my childhood, but no one recognizing what they were. And most people just looked at me as if I was just this child who was acting out and out of control and had no respect. And that really wasn't what was going on. I was a really nice, loving, caring person, but I had a lot of emotional issues happening. And then I had a mental illness on top of it, again, that no one knew about, because I did not get diagnosed until I was 27 years old. So I went through all of this life and all this survival mode, not knowing and not being medicated. So when they come and get me and save me, it's like the best thing ever. I'm just so grateful and so thankful. And I think back all the time at that moment. And I still feel like I would have lost my whole mind. And what that means, I don't know, but I'm just glad that she came, because getting out of the house and being around someone else was helpful. Because at this point, my brother didn't live with my mother anymore, and I just lived with her. And sometimes I was there a lot alone. And most of the times I was fine with it. I watch TV, I go outside and play with the kids, I feed myself. It was not a big deal because I was accustomed to this lifestyle. But that particular day, I couldn't do it. I wasn't in a frame of mind to handle it. And I don't know what had happened or what had occurred earlier in that day. I have no clue. All I know is my angels appeared and they came. I have another angel. She's my best friend in Baltimore. I've known her since I was 11 years old. And what I love about her and her family, what they used to do for me, and this makes me tear up. I was home alone a lot, right? And it would be nighttime and I'd be scared. And so Simon's mother, Miss Paulette, she would let Simon stay on the phone extra long to talk to me because she knew I was by myself. And I needed that comfort. I needed that support. Y'all don't understand. These angels that God, I believe, sent to me helped to get me through the survival mode in life. Don't ever think that what you've been through doesn't mean anything and it hasn't had an impact on you. All of it has an impact. Whether the impact for you is negative or positive, it all has an impact. But what my message here with Dawn Dares a Dream is to share with you that you can turn that around. All of what you thought was negativity, all of the I don't belong or the abuse that you may have suffered, but you suffered it. But remember, survival mode, you survived it. So there was something that you did. There was something deep down inside of you that you used to survive that point in your life, those different situations in your life. Because I don't know where the strength came from for me, but it existed. It stood up inside me and we marched forward and I was able to survive. Now, the one thing I want to tell you, my mother does have a brother. He's passed away, and 2 sisters. My mother's the oldest sister. She has 2 younger sisters. The sisters helped. I don't want to negate what they have done. My Aunt Pat, I used to always go over her house. They had 4 kids, okay? So I used to always go in the house, and I always felt like I was included into the bunch. So I was like the 5th kid. And I enjoyed being there because parents were home. They loved their kids. They had hot meals all the time. I mean, they had structure. You know, on Saturdays, they had chores. If I was there, I had a chore that was assigned to me. Do you understand? And that showed me what family life can be like and what stability looks like. Because again, I didn't experience it at home. But in my survival mode, I realized that this is possible. I don't know when my stability is arriving or coming, but I knew that it was possible because of what my Aunt Pat and Uncle Joe had done for me. Now, we fast forward to my Aunt Rose. My Aunt Rose is the one who introduced me to the law of attraction. So she's like this giant, enormous angel. She deserves a statue somewhere because that introductory helped to move me from survival mode to living. And we're going to get to living eventually. So really, we're going to get to living tomorrow. In today's episode, we're going to remain talking about survival. Aunt Rose did not have that much more than my mother had. And I visibly could see that she was living in lack as well with my cousin, Serena. But she still shared what she had. She still showed love to me with what she had. And she showed and gave to me from a place in which she could. Because we all have to remember, while we're in the survival mode, when we think back and all these negative things that we have interpreted as negative have happened to us, those same people are probably still living in their survival mode that have done all the pain, hurt, and trauma to us. And then God has sent some little angels to help a little bit here and there. You know, the help was great, but it wasn't enough. It didn't eliminate the situation that we were in. But what it did do is it showed us some keys, gave us some tools and techniques for how to maneuver in this world instinctually. Because I have people like my friend Simone, she'll tell you, she says, Dawn is the ultimate survivor. You want to know how to survive? You want to talk to Dawn, you know, because our lives were completely, you know, so drastic. She's gone through a lot in her life as well. It's just that, you know, some people, you can compare your situation, your circumstances to others, and you're like, man, that was a lot that they went through. I'm glad I didn't go through that, you know. But that being said, I was tired of just surviving. I was so tired of it because in survival mode, something kicks in where you're hungry. When you're in survival mode, you're hungry to get out of it. You're hungry to get your needs met. You're hungry to have some joy in your life. You're hungry for that peace. You're hungry for it in survival mode. And so as I go through my thriving portion of my life that I'm in right now, I always go back and tap into that survival stuff. I tap back into those instincts that I learned back then. I even speak a lot of the gratefulness for what I've been through because it's got me where I am. Do you understand? Thriving has me going back and pulling out everything that I learned. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about living. And what living does, it makes you extremely comfortable. And you kind of forget or suppress, I'm going to say, all of the emotions and everything you went through. You don't want to deal with it. You know, everything is fine. My life is great. My life is good. I'm not touching that stuff. That's what living does for you. And we're going to get into that tomorrow. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Also, remember to leave me a comment with any questions that you may have. I will definitely get back to you in a day or two. There is a share button down here, right down here, share button with an arrow. Click on that, share this to your social media platform like Facebook. Show some support, people. And last, I'm going to have my face up here in a circle. Now, I need you to subscribe, so click on my face, select the gray bell, select all. That way you'll be subscribed to my channel. You'll be notified to all the new content that I place up here to YouTube. And my last series, Taking Responsibility for Your Life, I'm going to put that up here, and I'll put the bipolar journey up here as well. So that way you can go and check that series out if you choose and you want to know the history behind, you know, how did I get diagnosed at age 27? Because tomorrow when we come in, we're actually going to talk about living, and we're going to jump past being diagnosed and how I living with my diagnosis and how that impacted me and what my living phase kind of looked like and what I learned during that phase. So thank you for hanging out with me today, dreamers. Have a great day, dreamers.